Hello again. Yes. Now, in Gulliver's Travels, we are in the third part and his adventures in Laputa. And in his adventures in Laputa, we are in the fourth chapter. In the beginning of the fourth chapter, although I cannot say that I was ill-treated in this land, in this island, yet I must confess I thought myself too much neglected, not without some degree of contempt, for neither prince nor people appeared to be curious in any part of knowledge, except mathematics and music, wherein I was for their inferior, and upon that account very little regarded. So, although he knows about maths and music, they think that Gulliver is inferior to them, and he doesn't know about these things. On the other side, after having seen all the curiosities of the island, I was very desirous to leave it, being heartily weary of those people. They were indeed excellent in two sciences for which I have great esteem, and wherein I am not unversed, but at the same time so abstracted and involved in speculation that I never met with such disagreeable companions. I conversed only with women, tradesmen, flappers, and court pages during 2 months of my adobe here, by which at last I rendered myself extremely contemptible. Yet these were the only people from whom I could ever receive a reasonable answer. So he doesn't try to construct a conversation between himself and his with the people at the same level as him, but instead he is now trying to contact pages, servants, flappers, and people like him. There was a great lord at court. The next paragraph. There was a great lord at court, nearly related to the king, and for that reason alone used with respect. He was universally reckoned the most ignorant and stupid person among them. And he had performed many eminent services for the crown and had great natural acquired parts, adorned with integrity and honor, but so ill an ear for music, and his detractors reported he had been often known to beat time in the wrong place. Neither could his authors without extreme difficulty teach him to demonstrate the most easy proposition in the mathematics. So, there are also quite intellectual people that he meets on this island who are excellent at maths. In the next paragraph, I entreated this illustrious person to intercede in my behalf with his majesty for leave to depart. So he uses this person, he uses his dialogue with this person to convince the king, to ask the king to give him some permission, to give him a permission to leave this island. Leave to depart. Which he accordingly did, as he was pleased to tell me with regret. For indeed he had made me several offers very advantageous, which, however, refused with expressions of the highest acknowledgment. On the 16th day of February, I took leave of His Majesty and the court. The king made me a present to the value of about £200 in English, £200 English, and my protector, his kinsman, as much more, together with a letter of recommendation to a friend of his in Lagado, the metropolis, the island being then hovering over a mountain about 2 miles from. I was let down from the lowest gallery in the same manner as I had been taken up. So, the king lets Gulliver leave this island. So he is now leaving the island that flies, and he's going down. They are flying on over Lagado now, over a city called Lagado. So he goes down to Lagado. The continent, as far as it is subject to the monarch of the flying island, passes under the general name of Balnibarbi, and the metropolis, as I said before, is called Lagado. I felt some little satisfaction in finding myself on firm ground. I walked to the city without concern, being clad like one of the natives and sufficiently instructed to converse with them. I soon found out the person's house to whom I was recommended, presented my letter from his friend the grandee in the island, and was received with much kindness. This great lord, whose name was Munodi, ordered me an apartment in his own house, where I continued during my stay, and was entertained in a most hospitable manner. So the lord in Laputa gave him an advising letter, a recommendation letter to show Lord Munodi in Lagado. So he goes and finds Lord Munodi in Lagado, and Lord Munodi welcomes him very hospitably, and he provides him with a small flat to live in, and he's got the money, of course. On the next page, I skip the next paragraph. This Lord Munodi was a person of the first rank, and had been some years governor of Lagado, but by a cabal of ministers was discharged for insufficiency. However, the king treated him with tenderness as a well-meaning man, but of a low, contemptible understanding. Okay. He is a very respectable person in the society, and he is a first-class man in that society, so he makes things easier for Gulliver. And I skip the next paragraph. During our journey, he made me observe the several methods used by farmers in managing their lands, which to me were wholly unaccountable. For except in some very few places I could not discover one ear of corn or blade of grass, but in 3 hours travelling the scene was wholly altered. We came into a most beautiful country. Farmers' houses at small distances, neatly built, the fields enclosed, containing vineyards, corn grounds, and meadows. So this country, this city, is much more beautiful than Laputa, because the houses are perfectly built, and as you remember, in Laputa, the houses were ill-built. They are not well-built, but ill-built. Here, they are excellently built. And there are beautiful gardens and beautiful meadows. Neither do I remember to have seen a more delightful prospect. His Excellency observed my countenance to clear up. He told me with a sigh that there his state began, and would continue the same till we should come to his house. That his countrymen ridiculed and despised him for managing his affairs no better, for setting so ill an example to the kingdom, which, however, was followed by very few, such as were old and wilful, weak like himself. So, this person tells him a story. I skip the next 2 short paragraphs. The sum of his discourse was to this effect: that about 40 years ago, certain people went up to Laputa, either upon business or diversion, and after 5 months continuous came back with a very little smattering in mathematics, but full of volatile spirits acquired in that airy region. So, 40 years ago, some people were sent up to Laputa for education. When they came back, they had little knowledge in mathematics, but they had volatile spirits. What does that mean? Volatile spirits. They were airy, snobbish. Snobbish, nose upwards. They don't like their own society. So this part of the book reminds me of people in our country, reminds me of people who go abroad, particularly Europe or America, and come back for education. They go there, and when they come back, they have that airy attitude towards the local people, and they think that everything is, disordered in this country. Everything is spoiled in this country. Everything is bad in this country. Okay, so people like me, I have been abroad, and I have been educated abroad in England, and when I read this part of the book, I'm a little bit ashamed of myself. People like me have that kind of tendency to, despise their own country. That these persons, upon their return, began to dislike any management of everything below, and fell into schemes of putting all arts, sciences, languages, and mechanics upon a new foot. So they said that when they came back, they disliked everything, disliked the management of everything, and they said that we need to change everything. We need to begin a new system. This has to be changed. This is not good. To this end, they procured a royal patent for they procured a royal patent for erecting an academy of projectors in Lagado. So when they came back, they started a new academy in Lagado. And in this new academy, they tried to produce a new kind of science, new kind of projects, and there are so many projectors here. The humor prevails so strongly among the people that there is not a town of any consequence in the kingdom without such an academy. In these colleges, the professors contrive new rules and methods of agriculture and building, and new instruments and tools for all trades and manufacturers, whereby, as they undertake, one man shall do the work of 10. A palace may be built in a week, of materials so durable as to last forever without repairing. So, these people, foreign educated, they are educated in Laputa, so when they up on the floating island, and when they came down, they didn't like anything, and they didn't like the management of the city, management of the country, management of the academy, so they wanted to establish something new. This is a very common story in Turkey. People do that, especially people who have been educated abroad. When they come back, they don't like anything and they want to change everything. And this country is underdeveloped, so we have to do something about this. But they do it without liking it. That's the problem. Okay. All the fruits of the earth shall come to maturity at whatever reason we think fit to choose, and increase 100-fold more than they do at present, with innumerable other happy proposals. The only inconvenience is that none of these projects are yet brought to perfection. In the meantime, the holy country lies miserably waste, the houses in ruins, the people without food or clothes, by all which, instead of being discouraged, they are 50 times more violently bent upon prosecuting their schemes, driven equally on by hope and despair, that as for himself, being not of an enterprising spirit, he was content to go on in the old forms, to live in the houses his ancestors had built, act as they did every part of life without innovation. That some few other persons of quality and gentry had done the same, but were looked on with an eye of contempt and ill will, as enemies to art. Ignorant, ill Commonwealth's men, preferring their own ease and sloth before the general improvement of their country. And Gulliver wants to visit this academy. So the Lord Munodi sends him to this academy. Final paragraph of this chapter. In a few days we came back to town, and His Excellency, considering the bad character he had in the academy, would not go with me himself, but recommended me to a friend of his to bear me company thither. My lord was pleased to present me as a great admirer of projects, and a person of much curiosity and easy belief, which indeed was not without truth, for I had myself been a sort of projector in my younger days. So Gulliver really wants to see this place because he was also working on projects when he was younger, so he wonders about these projects. But the problem with these projects is that none of these projects come to a solution and come to a conclusion. They are all, as we are going to see in the next chapter, they are all really silly and nonsense, illogical projects which would go nowhere, which would result in nothing. Okay? Which would result in nothing. So therefore, the stupidity of the projects will be very surprising for him. Okay, I'm closing this session now, and in the next part of the book, I'm going to talk about those projects, those very strange projects. See you in 5 minutes.